Welcome back to the Venari Podcast. I'm Goth Candola, and we're joined for episode 4 of the Sustainability Series by Kara Oldhouser, who is the Director of Sustainability at Amtrak. Now, Amtrak, of course, are the National Passenger Railroad of the US. Kara, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, I'm really, glad to get you on because obviously being a user of the service myself, excited to learn more about Amtrak's net zero strategy, obviously future initiatives that we can expect, not only as a customer, but also, for wider initiatives within the company as well. So yeah, great to have you on. To kick off, I'm curious, obviously, to understand, what made you choose a career within sustainability and how did you get involved with Amtrak as well?
My career in sustainability, I think there was a real catalyst moment that happened. I went to school for interior design. And when I started working in a commercial and architecture design firm, I had the opportunity to blend the aesthetics with the very technical side of all of the architecture and engineering and construction documents. And that blend was really attractive to me. But more so, it was the opportunity to study and earn my accreditation in the LEED certification, which is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And at
Oh,
the time, it was really starting to get a lot of momentum, especially in the architecture and design industry. And that was the bug that bit me. And when I sat for it and I learned all of the details about thermodynamics and how volatile organic compounds in the materials that we use are in places that we're working and eating and sleeping and breathing, it just became really important to me to focus my career on that. And so it was focused in the built environment for a little while, but then I went back and got my master's a couple of years after having some professional development under my belt and
okay.
experience. And that is where I focused on sustainability, really from a more corporate and programmatic leadership position. And after that, I was invited to work at Amtrak. And it's a funny little story. I was working in the real estate department, and the environment and sustainability team sat right next to me. And I became fast friends with everyone in that department. And 90 days after starting at Amtrak in the real estate team, it was clear that my path was really meant for the sustainability manager position at the time, which I interviewed and hired and had it. And 6 years later, I'm still here and I love it.
I was going to say now, the effects of climate change, are especially like extreme weather events, can cause serious impact on Amtrak's service and operations. We've seen it over the years. With that in mind, what are some of the current initiatives that you're engaged with when it comes to sustainability?
Within our sustainability group, we have really two main focus areas. We have mitigation, but then we also have resilience and adaptation. We're about to kick off a national climate vulnerability assessment, which I am really excited about because we started with just the network that we own, which is the Northeast Corridor. For those that aren't familiar with the Amtrak network, we own the network for the majority between Boston and Washington, D.C. That's also fully electrified. Everything else is diesel operation on host railroads. So think about freight rails. For us, that's Norfolk Southern, CSX, big freight companies. And so the complexities of operating across the entire country, we are going to have a much broader range of climate hazards that we need to understand what they are, how rapidly they're changing, and where they're rapidly changing as it hits our network or where we operate so that we can start to change our operations and our responsiveness. But I would say more specifically for the Northeast Corridor, this work is going to be a blend because the assets that we own, the infrastructure that our customers ride on between our trains to the tracks, we have the opportunity to really design them differently and design them to be climate ready. And that is some of the work that I am really, really excited about. And we've made terrific progress on, I would say, in the last 2 years.
And obviously, whilst rail is one of the most sustainable ways of travel, what are the main challenges Amtrak are facing in, I would say, the transition to zero carbon?
I think there's three for us right now. Innovation is one of them. And that is really in large part because 65% of our greenhouse gas inventory or our carbon footprint is attributed to our diesel locomotives. And we have this giant fossil fuel propelled fleet. And we have to figure out how to wean ourselves off of fossil fuel and how to transition away from it but that requires a certain kind of performance. And those locomotives aren't the same that a place like London or inner city, smaller regional locomotives would be performing in the same way. It's not the same type of locomotives that the freight operators are using. So we're kind of in this in between that we really need to find something that is well suited and appropriate for Amtrak. So we are actively exploring alternative propulsion options. We have the electrified network, so we know we're already good at that. That's definitely one of the options, but hydrogen and battery would be the other two. And we need the manufacturers to catch up, but also to deliver options to us that are appropriate for being able to cross over the US Rockies or the plains of the Midwest, or handle the heat and humidity and roll through the Gulf around New Orleans and Florida. So we have a broad territory. We have a lot of complex operations, and I think innovation is going to be one of those critical areas for us. I also mentioned infrastructure. Anytime we're going to be changing a fuel type like that, we are starting to dabble in that in California because of their advanced regulations on greenhouse gas emissions and reducing them and switching off of fossil fuels. So we're now using renewable diesel in California to fuel our long distance trains and our state supported trains. That's giving us a really, I think, good eye into what it's going to take for us logistically to make sure that we have access to whatever that alternative propulsion type is going to be. And I'd say thanks to the Department of Energy, they just launched a hydrogen hub announcement where they have these clusters that they're going to invest in. So we're tracking that really closely too. And then I would say the last one would probably be funding. That's always something that everyone wants more of, is more money. And Amtrak we've been really fortunate in our 50 years. We have most recently had historic investment from Congress, from the IIJA, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act. So of that $66 billion, $22 billion of it will make its way to Amtrak. And it's already spoken for. So I've heard our executives use the phrase that it's a down payment, but we're still going to need more to be able to do all of this work. And so as we look at net zero and we look at climate change, those are our two, from my perspective and what I'm responsible for, really big buckets that we're going to have to be smart about how we design and how we build.
I think the more we can kind of invest within this space, as you said, the better the infrastructure can become. But also, as you said, in terms of kind of funding the sustainability piece, and you need to look at actually those sustainability teams within the businesses as well, and kind of help them alongside the wider infrastructure teams. So yeah, it's going to be fun over the coming years. With that, I was going to say, how important, in your opinion, is it that companies engage in regulatory advocacy as well?
This is an interesting piece for us because we can't, and we also don't engage in regulatory advocacy because of the way that we are created as a company, as the US Congress's for-profit corporation. But that does not keep us from wanting to work with any willing partner across whatever aisle, regardless of whatever party. We're really focused on ensuring that the policy environment is one that enables Amtrak to be able to deliver our mission consistently, for us to be able to, as we like to say now, take more people to more places. We operate in blue states, we operate in red states. Our focus is to get more people on our trains and get them from point A to point B. So that's our focus there. And I had mentioned a couple of things, and they're not necessarily regulatory, but they're definitely percolating. Everything from the hydrogen hubs to a new federal employee travel policy. So in the United States, we have the General Services Administration. That is the overarching federal organization that holds the travel policy, and they have a $2.8 billion travel budget, which means that the federal employees are moving around a lot. And it was a great announcement. They just came out with it last week. They're focused and have criteria in the decision-making process for federal employees that when they book business travel, they have to include sustainable options. And fortunately for us, Amtrak is one of them. So we really hope to see more customers riding our trains, but it's also great to be able to deliver that service that aligns with corporate employee travel emissions reduction targets. It's good to be that solution for them.
Definitely. I'm traveling from New York to DC all the time, and it's the easiest, most convenient way to do it. Now, with rail, obviously, as an exec search firm, we've seen it as well. There's a huge talent gap within this industry. I've worked within it over 10 years, and obviously seen it kind of adapt, especially over the most recent part. In your experience, are we experiencing similar struggles when it comes to, let's say, scaling a sustainability team?
I might be biased, but I was a full-time team of one for 4 years, and now we're a team of six.
Wow.
And one that signals to me our leadership is invested in the importance and the value of this topic. They've also entrusted me to source and find the talent and help to build the team that is really bespoke for the type of work that we have to do for Amtrak. I'm really fortunate to have super smart people that are committed to this. Beyond just being passionate, they're really professional and they bring a certain expertise that is very applicable to what we're trying to accomplish. We have 20,000, almost 25,000 employees. We have a massive hiring effort that's happening last year and this year. And so for us, it's really important that instead of focusing on having a specific sustainability talent that is coming into our company, that we are raising awareness of what we're trying to accomplish as a company, educating and empowering our workforce to know what our sustainability goals are, that we have revised design standards that are climate ready, that they should be using in these large construction projects and even the smaller ones. And so that's my aim, is to raise all of us so that we can have greater sustainability understanding and education. I know it's going to take a while, but that's my perspective on where we are in the talent pool right now.
That's amazing. I was going to say, before we let you go, what future initiatives can we expect as well to see?
We already touched on the climate vulnerability assessment. That's going to be this year a really key focus for our team, and then a strategic plan that will come out of that. So stay tuned for more. I think the alternative propulsion that we also discussed is massive for us. One, in the level of investment that's going to require, but also the share of our carbon footprint that it has the potential to impact. And we took a trip this past summer up into Quebec, into Canada, to check out a demonstration train. So it was really good for our people to see, touch, feel, hear what a hydrogen train is like. And I think there's great potential in us moving towards a fossil-free future. And then I would also say the fleet, so the trains that our customers will be riding on in the coming years, our Acela fleet is going to be 40% more energy efficient. And having those design decisions early on really does make a difference. And I think that's what's important, is the future things that we're working on, you still have to make critical decisions today to really shape the direction you're going to be moving in. So I think those are a few of the major things that are going to touch what we do and how we run our business, and then things that our customers are going to experience on our trains when they operate.
Look, I know I'm looking forward to seeing the new fleet of aero trains in 2026. So, that's an exciting announcement as well. I'm kind of, in the project piece at the moment. So, but yeah, look, Cara, thank you so much again for being part of the series. Really appreciate, having you on and kind of giving your insight to Amtrak. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.